everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of T Watches a Scary Movie. My name is T, and of course, we are talking some scary movies. I appreciate everybody tuning in for another brand new episode. Remember, brand new episodes go up every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on the YouTube page, which is youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. Again, that's youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. Yeah, definitely go and get subscribed. You'll get all the notifications for when the new episodes are going up, just so you can be aware in case you're not listening right at the premiere of this. As well as you should know now too, we are also on Podbean, so you can actually check episodes of the show out on Podbean there just by searching T Watches a Scary Movie. I am in the process of trying to get everything uploaded to iTunes as well too. So of course we'll get that sooner than later for sure. But yeah, I mean, you can check us out on Podbean, just check us out on YouTube. Just make sure to subscribe. That's another avenue. And if you want to make sure you're getting all the alerts for when we have our our watch parties, or when we're discussing some movie news, talking some written reviews, things like that, you got to go to our Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups/T Scary Movie. Again, that's facebook.com/group/T Scary Movie. So, what do I have in store for y'all this week? Well, last week I got a chance to actually catch a Fathom event screening of a new horror movie called The Stairs. Myself and a good friend of mine, Joshua Mazzaro, with Mile High Horror Film Festival, got a chance to sit down with the editor of that film, Matthew Tang, to have a great conversation with them after the screening. And we're going to have that video for you a little bit later this week. So you'll be able to see the conversation that we had with Matthew. Really good, really fun conversation, honestly. So that was really cool to get to do. But we are going to be talking The Stairs as well. We are going to be talking the release, finally, of the sequel to Fede Alvarez's horror hit Don't Breathe with Don't Breathe 2. So we are talking The Stairs, and we are talking Don't Breathe 2 tonight. I'm getting excited, y'all. We are just at this point a couple of weeks away from the start of the spooky season. Exactly 2 weeks from today, because it is August 18th, is September 1st. And as I've mentioned, September 1st, we are starting our scary movie marathon. Now, just to talk a little bit more about the way that's going to work out there, okay? Y'all know how this goes. Every Halloween season, I start watching as many horror movies as possible. I typically try to save a lot of them throughout the year to just watch during this. Now, the movies that we watch will have no impact on future episodes or anything like that now. I'm going to try to avoid having any movies in this marathon that we've watched in the last year. So we're not going to really see too many of the same ones that we saw, that we've been doing like on our watch parties and stuff, because I really wanted to try to stay away from those so we can watch a bunch of other shit together now. But there will be a few repeats here and there. But the idea is from September 1st all the way up until Halloween, I'm going to watch as many scary movies as possible, shooting for 175 this year. But anytime I'm at home and watching a scary movie, I'm going to stream that for y'all. So y'all have a chance to kind of join in, have some fun watching more scary movies. Yes, we will still do our official Wednesday night watch parties as well too. But we're going to have a lot more going on though. We're going to have a heck of a lot more going on. Also, keep in mind, we're not going to really be doing that many traditional episodes of the show in September and October. I'm going to try to reserve those for episodes where I can get some interviews for y'all, as well as certain retrospectives. Like, for example, we are going to be doing a big retrospective episode on the Chucky series, because with the Chucky TV show coming out October 12th on USA and Sci-Fi, I wanted to make sure we got a chance to go back and look at the 7 films and the remake that have hit thus far, and talk a little bit about Chucky and Andy and the rest of the gang there, about what they've been up to over these last 40 years. 40 years. Yeah, that's kind of crazy to really think about there. Or I guess closer to 35, but still though. So we're going to do a retrospective on Chucky next month. I still would really, I don't know if I'll get to it before Halloween or after, but what the hell is it? I want to go over the Phantasm series. Want to go through the Hellraiser series. Like, there's a lot of retrospectives coming up that I really want to talk with y'all. So we're going to get into that. We also got our TV watch parties coming back soon as well, too. We got a third season of Creep Show on the way. We got the Day of the Dead TV show. We got the Chucky series, as I mentioned. Got a new season of Dexter coming. There's a lot of fun stuff coming up this fall. So I'm super stoked to start going through all of that with y'all there. But this is going to be one of our last traditional episodes for a little bit. And that's okay as well, too. So, let's start by talking the stairs. Now, for the stairs. All right, so our first film that we are going to be talking tonight is The Stairs. Now, I came upon this. I saw a trailer that was released for this film here. And the story basically was about a grandfather and a grandson that are going on a hunting trip. And both the grandfather and the grandson go missing. And then 20 years later, a group of friends decide to go camping in the same area where this grandfather and grandson both went missing. But it turns out that both groups are being terrorized and have been terrorized by a number of different monsters that exist out in the woods. All of these monsters seemingly coming from underneath a mysterious set of stairs that's just randomly in the middle of nowhere. So, The Stairs, this is a project that was conceived by Peter Drago Timon, who both wrote, directed, and produced the film, as well as the stunt coordinator as well, too. And Drago talked about it because, again, I saw this in a Fathoms event screening, and Drago talked about that the inspiration for this film really came from a lot of creepypasta stories that are out there. I'm sure some of y'all have heard this one before about folks just stumbling upon random sets of stairs just out in the wilderness. There's no explanation behind them, no idea where they came from, and it's just really creepy. Now, a lot of those stories, the explanations and the ideas we're getting from the stairs that are found and from the photos we've seen, usually they're dilapidated. So it's like a lot of times, while we have nothing to support it, it could be something like, okay, there used to be a town here, and the town, has been abandoned, it's slowly crumbled and been destroyed, and all that's left right now is this set of stairs. This is one of the things that's left here. That's honestly probably the most realistic idea behind a lot of these just random sets of stairs being there. Also, I don't doubt that it could be art as well too, because you hear about that, like kind of like those monolith things that were popping up like last year or the year before, whenever that was. Like, people do some crazy shit sometimes. So that was the idea that the writer, director, producer Drago took, was that he knew that there was all these stories about just random sets of stairs showing up across like the world, just out in the middle of nowhere, and that he wanted to go from that. And then he also took the idea from his childhood of, just a trip with the grandfather, basically out somewhere camping, hunting, whatever, and trying to merge those ideas. And the idea is honestly pretty sound there. Without going too far or too hard into spoiler territory or anything like that, the idea that these stairs that are, all around the world, okay, it's not just like an American thing, it's not just in one place or anything like that, but Drago sets the idea that these stairs are portals to other dimensions, and that these portals and that these other dimensions are filled with just various types of monsters coming from them. And if you're unfortunate enough to stumble upon one of these sets of stairs, that means that a monster or two or three can't be too far behind. Now, that alone is a very fascinating concept. I love that idea, honestly, because that's no different from a lot of other monster movies where our monsters have got to come from somewhere. It's somewhere usually mysterious. A lot of times you don't really get a good explanation behind it. So that is one thing that Drago does have going for him in this film, is that it is easy to make this idea work of monsters coming from this other dimension and terrorizing anybody that just happens to be in that area. I'm also choosing to set it across multiple timelines here. So the fact that the timeline with the grandfather and the grandson is happening, it's 8 years. It's either 8 or 10 years before really the bulk of the movie itself, because the bulk of the movie is set about 8 to 10 years. Oh God. Right, right. So this is the second time in like 3 weeks now where I've been recording, and there's been a fucking bug just out of nowhere coming up, and in this time it was a goddamn spider. And if you know me, you know how much I hate fucking spiders. So yeah, that was fun. Damn it! Like I feel like y'all are getting to like actually hear me scared more often than not these days. Jesus Christ, horror movies don't scare me. Spiders scare me. Come the fuck on. Anyway, as I was saying, I do love the idea of these two different timelines and the fact that rather than kind of go back and forth and give us an idea of what the grandfather and the grandson had been encountering when they went missing, we're left with that mystery, and then we're just going to focus on the second set of characters. And it's the right idea just because the grandfather and the grandson, while that can definitely work in a horror movie, and I don't think that would have been an issue to follow those two characters and them running from the monsters, trying to escape, survive, all that kind of stuff. That definitely would have been interesting, and very possibly could work also as like a sequel or a prequel or whatever you want to call it as well too. But I think it's the right decision to focus it more so on some young 20-somethings just out there, out there camping, and they come across the same problems. I think that's the better idea because that's more relatable to the majority of the audience that's going to be actually seeing this film. And the monster design, even, honestly, isn't that bad. We have to remember that this is an independent production. This is financed by the actual filmmakers itself. There's not a studio who's really behind this here. So it's all dependent on the work that they're doing. It's all dependent on, how high a quality of effects and like script writing and acting and things like that they can bring in. And for the production, it's honestly pretty good. The design of the big monster of the film, what's called Grub Daddy, is pretty. It's a pretty good one. I mean, it's it has this like circular mouth with all these like fangs and teeth out of it. And the best way to describe it is that it's kind of like what Pennywise from It kind of looked like eventually when he starts showing his true form, is the best way to kind of put it. But the monster itself, it's creepy for sure. I do like the Grub Daddy's design, but where the movie kind of takes a step weirdly, and it doesn't really work out as well, is that, again, as I mentioned, the whole idea is that there are various monsters that reside in all these stairs, because the stairs are portals to other dimensions to where all these other monsters are from. And the other couple monsters they show us is a man out just randomly, again, just in the middle of nowhere there, with a gun, who is apparently, like, he's killed himself. He's blown his brains out, and he's there with what we kind of think might be his wife, might be his girlfriend, somebody that he knows, basically, but it seems like this woman is also turning into a Grub Daddy as well. And that's the best way to say it, again, without giving spoilers. They don't really follow that story thread too much, and that's also okay, because as you'll learn about in my interview, again, with Michael Tang, the editor of the film, we do actually get an idea that there might be a sequel being produced here that might end up following that, honestly, that might follow that story thread there of these other monsters. And that would actually work out, because, again, the story is there's all these monsters from different dimensions. So if they want to follow each of those different ones, that would actually be a really, really cool idea. It's just in this film, there's not enough of it to just not seem random. Like, we're introduced to this lady who seems like she's turning into one of these grub daddy monsters kind of early on, and then she doesn't make another appearance again. Like she's just in this one session, doesn't actually do that much in terms of what happens to the characters, and then she's gone. And again, a sequel could do much more with that, but there wasn't enough to make it seem like it was necessary in this film for sure, and that's okay. But would have liked if we had just focused on the Grub Daddies itself. Now, in terms of acting, I saw this with my wife. My wife was not a fan of the acting. The few people who have seen it that I know were not fans of the acting as well too. And I tend to be really lenient on that because I've seen some horrible acting, especially in horror films. So it does take a lot for me to look at acting in a film and be like, Jesus Christ, this is god awful. And I liked it. I mean, we had a good laugh because there's a character in the group of the 20-somethings that go camping. There's this character, Doug, who's wearing this very, very exuberant and vibrant, like gold Hawaiian leaf shirt. And I own that shirt. Like my wife was like, we saw it. My wife's like, wait a minute. Don't you have that shirt? I look and I was like, wait a minute. I'm pretty positive I do have that shirt. I'm positive I own it. Go home. Find it in 2 seconds. I own Doug's shirt. So that's kind of funny because growing up, I had this whole thing about how you see like the costumes and like the wardrobe that people wear in movies, but you'll never own any of that because a lot of times, like, God damn, folks in movies are rich. Even if they're not actually playing a rich character, they just have all this money to buy the coolest looking clothes and shit like that. So I felt pretty dope for saying this is the first time I've owned a piece of clothing that has been in a movie. So yay me. Now, I've talked a lot of good about this, but we also have to hit some not so good. The film itself is not particularly scary. Again, I like the design of the Grub Daddies itself, and obviously the idea that this monster's chasing all these kids. Basically, I say kids, they're adults, but they're chasing this group of people in the woods there, and they're each getting picked off and everything, and has a way of making people see things that aren't there as well too. A lot is really going for it, honestly, but it just doesn't come off as scary for whatever reason. And I don't know if that's just because there's no sense of tension. There really isn't. I did not feel that much tension between the characters trying to get away and escape and survive, even as more and more of them die. I don't know if it's because maybe I felt like there needed to be more monsters. Like the Grub Daddy is presented as it's very almost as like it's invincible. It turns out it's not, but I mean, it's presented like it's invincible in a way. And like even with that, like it just didn't seem the characters were in that much danger, and this as like they are being picked off. I didn't feel like there was any impetus. There wasn't any hurrying. There wasn't anything that was like go 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 go. We got to get away or anything like that. Like I just didn't feel the sense of urgency from the characters in the film, and I think because of that, it just didn't have anything scary really going for it, honestly. Now, with that being said, it is a great looking film. Like everything does look beautiful. Like I love the locations that they chose to use for the woods and everything like that. The stairs themselves are absolutely beautiful looking and everything as well too. And I mean, the film is shot beautifully and it looks beautiful too. Like it was put together phenomenally, but there's just something missing from the movie itself. And a scary movie's got to be scary. It's got to be scary. That's what honestly will make it good. I like the world building that they did here with the stairs, but even the stairs themselves didn't really turn out to be that vital. I don't know like what could have changed it to make it better. I really don't know, honestly, but I just feel that the fact that there's not really much in the way of scariness in this. Like even I don't know if this would be something I'd be scared of even if I was younger. And that really took too much away from the actual movie itself. To the point to where, again, when characters start dying, I don't want to feel bored, and I was feeling bored as characters started dying. Like, again, there's no suspense, there's no tension in it, there's no scares. It's just kind of there, Yeah, and I mean, I'd give a sequel a chance. I really would give a sequel a chance because I feel, again, there was so much world building in this that another film might actually do the job that this one was trying to do. But I didn't walk away from it feeling that fulfilled, honestly. Either way, though, we were told, again, the editor of the film let us know that it's likely going to hit streaming here by the end of the month, so we'll get a chance to watch it sooner than later for sure. So that is The Stairs. Next, we are going to be talking Don't Breathe 2. So our second film of the night is going to be Don't Breathe 2. So, quick refresher here in regards to Don't Breathe 1, because we kind of got to talk a little bit about that, and we're going to go into the sequel. So, back in 2016, Fede Alvarez, coming off the success of the Evil Dead remake that he did with Sam Raimi, put together another film that focuses on three friends and criminals who decide to break into a blind man's house to steal some money. But they get more than what they bargained for when they realize this was not the right person's house to break into, and that the man might have something even more sinister at play. Now, Don't Breathe was excellent. It was absolutely phenomenal. One thing that horror can really get away with that a lot of other genres can't is that, I don't know if I'd say more often than not, but it's very common for our protagonists in horror movies to be criminals, to be bad people, to be folks that probably in any other genre we wouldn't be feeling sorry for, we wouldn't be backing, like they wouldn't be the heroes of the tale or anything like that. But in horror, it typically works well because the idea is it's like the lesser of two evils. Case in point with the original Don't Breathe film, the idea is that sure, these three people break into this man's house to rob him, but when this man turns out to be like brutal, he's a killer, he's merciless, like he's just insane. And like the question is, okay, so who's really the bad guy here? The guy that's murdering the people that broke into his house, or the people that broke into his house? Because if they didn't break in, none of this shit would be happening, right? First movie doesn't really play with that ambiguity, all right? And that's not a knock against it, all right? In the first film, our three robbers in the house there itself. One of them were not made to like that much, but the other two, played by Jane Levy and Dylan Minnette, were obviously supposed to be our heroes. They're supposed to be the characters that we're following in this story. And there's not really much in the film that's like we should feel sorry for the blind man, okay? Like straight up, like yes, these people have broken into his home, but let them go, call the cops, kick them out, whatever you want to do, basically. Like, we don't really feel sorry for him. And not only that, when we then find out the twist of the story later on there, we definitely aren't going to feel sorry for the blind man or have any sympathy or be on his side at all. Now, we talked about this in the Facebook group about how when the trailers for Don't Breathe 2 started coming out, that there was a big problem. And that problem is that the trailers made it seem very much like the blind man was going to be the hero of Don't Breathe 2. That we're not picking up the story of the robbers or anything like that and what ended up happening to them. No, instead we're shifting our focus to the blind man. The blind man is now our main character in this. And I should also add, and you'll have to forgive me because I don't recall in the first film. We're going to watch it tonight for sure. I don't recall in the first film if they actually show his name, because the blind man's name is Norman Nordstrom. Now, they definitely don't say that from what I remember. They don't say that at all in the second film. But in the first film, I don't recall anybody really saying that there. It might have been on one of the news articles that like surrounds the twist of the story, but I just don't remember for sure. But the second film makes Norman here our lead character. And that's one of the biggest problems with this movie. The other being, it's not a horror movie. Okay, so the other being, this is not a fucking horror movie at all. And I'm kind of bummed with that approach. And I guess the problem ultimately is that if you're going to take your villain from the first film and turn that villain into your protagonist, it's hard to keep the horror elements. Like, that's what was scary about the first film, was Norman hunting our protagonist in that film and how he knew the layout, basically. Like, him being blind isn't a hindrance. Like, it should be scary because this guy is blind and still deadly as fuck. and these people that have full ability to see, they have full use of their eyes, are still in a lot of danger. And in the second film, with him being the protagonist, the scariness is gone because our villains in the second film aren't scary at all. And again, it's not a scary movie. It's like it's a revenge thriller. It's an action film. Like, it's almost like Death Wish in a way. And I've compared films to Death Wish before, but it's weird that this is so much like Death Wish, the feeling that you get from it. Norman is living with his daughter, Phoenix. Now, without spoiling anything again from the first film, anybody that watched the first movie probably has a few ideas in their head about where this daughter possibly came from or who she might actually be. Thankfully, that plot point is not something that gets picked up. So I'm going to give a spoiler here without giving away a spoiler, actually, and just say, if you know the plot point that I'm referring to, that you would probably be thinking of when you see that Norman has a daughter in this film, let me put your mind at ease. We do not pick that plot point up at all, thankfully. But Norman's living with his daughter. He's trying to keep her safe. We're given an idea that there was some kind of fire potentially at the prior house, the house that was in the first film, but there was a fire at the house itself, and that the mother of Norman's daughter died. Norman kept her and basically has been raising her by himself with the mother dead, and doesn't really let her go into town. Could be for a number of reasons, who knows. But Norman's kind of living an isolated life, preparing his daughter for the worst of, what he eventually expects to come. And unfortunately, that worst catches up quicker than he might have wanted it to happen, as a group of criminals break into Norman's house to kidnap his daughter, Phoenix. And we get to find out a lot more about the connections between the criminals and the kid. Again, the big problems here was that the first movie felt like a setup, okay? Like, we get introduced to, we start up the first film with kind of the ending of the film itself. Then we go back. We follow the criminals who are going to be breaking in and get a little bit of backstory on them. And then once they break into the house, we know we're there. We're ready to go. But the first movie plays like such a fantastic horror movie because of that setup. We knew that the whole idea was to get these characters into the house, then they get locked in, then it just becomes like we have to escape this house. That's it. Screw everything else. We're just trying to escape. We don't get a moment like that in here. And that's what made the first movie so good, was that we were waiting for our main characters to get locked in the house with the blind man and see how they were going to get out. In this one, there's nothing like that going on. Again, it's a revenge movie. The blind man's going to get his daughter back from these criminals. There is no, you're locked in here with me or anything like that. It's just, it doesn't really work. And the fact that remember the line in the first movie? Now you're going to see what I see. He kills the lights. Dylan Minnette and Jane Levy are down in the basement. Blind man kills the lights, and basically now he's terrorizing them because they can't see, even though he knows exactly where he is and what he's doing. That line gets used again in this movie as well, but it is played as your hasta la vista, baby, or I'll be back, or any like catchy action quip that's going to be out there. It is not this line of, oh shit, it's about to get scary up in this bitch. Like, no, it's just like, it's literally used as an action line to the point to where, like, I could imagine, as stupid as it sounds, if they ever wanted to make a prequel following the blind man's adventures, like back when he was in, like, because I think they said he's a Navy SEAL. So, like, if they ever wanted to follow the blind man's adventures as a Navy SEAL, I just have this idea that maybe that's the shit he said before he killed people when he was in the Navy. Like, he's running missions. Now you're going to see what I see. Pop! And he got him, like. It doesn't play well. It doesn't play well at all. And it sucks because I really want to like the movie. I really do. And like a year from now, I'm going to go back and look at it and be like, okay, I just have to accept that Don't Breathe 2 it's the action movie, basically. Like, it's the tonal shift from Terminator to Terminator. Oh my God. It's Terminator. It's literally Terminator, because Terminator is the bad guy in the first film and then comes back as the good guy in the second film, even though it's still the bad guy. Oh my God. It's fucking Terminator. That shit. Oh, man. Yo, that just hit me like a bag of bricks there now. Okay. It's Terminator. Because I say that because the first Terminator is a horror movie. It's absolutely a horror movie. And then in the second film, we absolutely switch to an action movie. Because, again, it's about who is the lesser of the two evils in this case. Wow. So, Don't Breathe 2. A lot of you are going to dislike this film. You are going to dislike it because it's not a horror movie. I'm not saying there's not some awesome kills in it. I mean, the fight scenes are dope, and man, does the blind man fuck these people up like crazy. It is bloody, it is visceral, it is gruesome as shit, but it is not a horror movie at all. And that is going to be the biggest bummer with it for a lot of you, to where I think a lot of you are really just not going to enjoy this movie. Just because if you're like me, you're not going to enjoy rooting for Norman. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, honestly, to root for him there. He's not a sympathetic character. He's not a sympathetic character, and he's not somebody, after watching Don't Breathe 1, he's not somebody that deserves like us to like him either, honestly. So, swing and a miss on this one. I can't recommend Don't Breathe 2, honestly. Again, if you're looking for a gritty action film, this is the one for you. If you're looking for a good horror film, this is not the movie you're going to want to see. And what's interesting is that, you know, Fede Alvarez did not actually he wasn't as behind this film as he was with the first one. His writing partner Rodo Sayagues, who helped him write the first film, actually takes over duties on Don't Breathe 2 here as the writer and director of this one. So good continuity, but just ultimately a failure. It's a failure in this exercise. I didn't enjoy it. I did feel this was very much lacking, unfortunately. Would not recommend it. But we are going to get to watch the first one here. So make sure you do get over to the Facebook group, where we'll have the link up for y'all to join up for the watch party and have some fun with us. Thank you very much for tuning in, folks. Next week, we are looking back on Candyman, because the new Candyman film comes out next weekend. Not this weekend. This weekend would be the 20th, 21st, 22nd. Candyman comes out next weekend. So we're going to go and take a look back at the original film and the first sequel that now no longer exists in the canon. So we're going to look at Candyman and Candyman Farewell to the Flesh. I believe it's Farewell to the Flesh, or is it Day of the Dead? Either way, second Candyman film. We have that coming up next week. And then, folks, after that, it is time to start our yearly horror movie marathon. Make sure to stay tuned here, y'all. Later this week, I'm going to have that interview with Michael Tang that me and Joshua Mazzaro of Mile High Horror Film Festival did together. So you're not going to want to miss that. Get some nice tidbits about the film there. And that is going to do it for us tonight, folks. Get to the Facebook group. Get on the link. Let's watch Don't Breathe together. My name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Make sure to like and subscribe, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all stay scared.